Welcome back. What are we really going to talk about in this video? We are going to look at some actual costs of operating this building in this location in California. The second thing I want to talk about is about how it didn't happen overnight. How can we possibly afford this store? How can we afford this space? We'll talk about some revenue numbers, but I want to give some visibility to how this all works, because I think for someone that's maybe jumping on the track with us right now and seeing, wow, large store looks successful, what's the story there? Like, how did we get here? If you don't know our story, I talk about it a few times in videos on this channel, and this won't be a real deep dive on my play-by-play in life of getting to this point. But I'll go over some of that. I'll go over some of my business philosophy that got me to where we are now, maybe a little bit about where we're going, maybe. But I really want to answer the most prevailing comment from the video from last week, which at this point it has like 33,000 views and over 150 comments. It outperformed anything I've posted in like maybe 2 years. So I figured it's good to talk about the comments there. There was at least, 10 or so comments specifically looking at how, the cost and size in California. How do we do this? And so I'm going to address that specifically and kind of how we've gotten to this point after being in business for going on 11 years. In September, it'll be 11 years that Kingslayer has been hosting Magic events. Folks from Europe were commenting on the channel. Folks from other parts of the US. The idea or the thought is that California is incredibly expensive, so conducting business there must be incredibly expensive, if not really prohibitive to someone wanting to start up. And yes, California is expensive, but it's all relative potentially to where you grew up. Like I grew up in Southern California, so it's always been expensive. We didn't start at a 5,000 square foot location. So let's talk about some of the costs there. So for this location right here, we're a little over $3 a square foot. That's per month for rent. And that's really good for California. And that's part of our plan up until this point, is to really find lease agreements and real estate opportunities for our lease that is in our best interest and allows us to be successful. So case in point, our very first store, actually before I even went retail, I had an online business doing retail arbitrage in 2014, buying and selling video games from swap meets and garage sales and really learning about e-commerce. And when I first moved the business out of my apartment into a commercial location, it was 1,000 square feet office in Fountain Valley, and it was $1,000 a month. So it was a handshake deal. The lease was a piece of paper that I don't think I signed. The landlord was this old timer that's no longer with us, but his name's Max, and he had an auto body shop in Fountain Valley for years. And Max gave us our first break, gave me my first chance to have a commercial real estate space to run my e-commerce business. So I was paying $1 per square foot for 1,000 square feet. It was not a lot of money. It started at $1 per square foot. We had 1,000 square foot space, and then we grew from there for 11 years. And eventually we we went to a more prominent retail location and a little bit more expensive. We started knocking on the door of $2 per square foot, but we still didn't. Our second location in Fountain Valley was about $2,000 a month, and it was 1,500 square feet. So we're still well under $2 a square foot for a space that we technically were zoned in a commercial space, but we could operate retail. So we were cheating the system legally the whole way of finding, real estate that could work for the shop we were trying to run at the budget we could afford at that time. And that's what we did for years. Up until we opened our Lake Forest store 3 years ago, and that rent was a little bit more expensive. But especially that first store in Fountain Valley, up until we moved in March, this March, we moved into this location. So for the first 10 years of the business existing, we were paying under $2 a square foot for rent in Orange County, and the same Orange County that Disneyland is in. So yes, California is expensive, but there are ways you can operate here that are not. We were very focused on finding value in our real estate locations, and that's why it took us so long to really find this space. So moving forward, fast forward to 2026, this space is a little over $3 per square foot. If you're like, wow, $3 per square foot times 5,400 square feet, like, yeah, it's a lot of money per month, but it wasn't because we didn't have revenues that we had been building for 11 years building into this. So we could have another conversation on, how did you grow revenue from zero to where you are now? We will do about 8.3 million this year. And we can talk about those jumps from in 2015, 2016, doing like 200,000 a year. And before COVID and after COVID, before COVID, we were at about 800K annually. After COVID, we were about 2 million annually. And the hobby just changed. In 2024, there was another large moment where the hobby changed again, and the interest in trading card games, kind of exploded again. And there's Riftbound and Lorcana and One Piece and Gundam and all these other card games that helped us achieve those growth numbers. But yeah, California is expensive. It's relative. You can find diamonds in the rough, so to speak, and you can find good deals. You just have to work hard. You have to impose your will. You have to go for it. I take risks. I take a lot of risks, and I get burned sometimes by going for it too much or spreading myself too thin. But I don't want to have a regret later in life wishing I would have done something. So, whenever I feel like, oh, this is probably a bad idea, oftentimes that's when I do something. I get bored and want to impose my will, apply myself, and be unstoppable towards my goals. I think that's really, really important. I was listening to a video earlier today. Gary Vee is a guy I watch a lot, and at different points in my career. And he said something, Gary Vee said, you find what you're looking for. And I that resonates with me. I have some different versions of that, like I've already said in this video, like impose your will or be unstoppable. But I think it's a similar thing. People really, really want to play games in person. People really, really want to play games in person. It's Wednesday night and it's pretty busy. I think we might need a bigger store. We ran out of seats. Now he's back. The boys are over here jamming. And once we figured that out 11 years ago, it was just a matter of, okay, well, what type of cost model do we need to adjust for to make that work? And for the first 5 years, it was like kind of a bad business. I was still working full time and subsidizing a lot at that time, and trusting my employees and all this other kind of stuff. But it wasn't a great business until kind of after COVID, the hobbies exploded, and then in 2024 they exploded again with interest in new TCGs. I take risks, impose your will. California is expensive, but you can still win. Like, this is an amazing time to start game stores and to create play spaces for people that are interested in playing card games or want to have a social experience outside of their home or their computer. Just go for it. That's what we've done, and it's worked. So the second chapter, the second part of this video is, this must have happened overnight, or at least appears when you click on the video of this tour of a 5,000 square foot store. You kind of the viewer can imagine a few scenarios, right? Like, okay, like a wealthy person gets a large piece of real estate and then puts games in it. Like anyone can do that if you have an amount of wealth or capital. And so that's like an observation you can make. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but our path, wasn't that. That's not something that we did. Doesn't mean that I didn't come from a point of privilege. I had lots of opportunities growing up. I had a stable home environment, and my folks were middle class, a cop and an accountant. So we weren't exactly at Mar-a-Lago or at some of these crazy places or whatever. But I did have an opportunity to have a solid education and go into the business world. But to strip that down, I did start my business, and to say start from zero isn't fair because it assumes I didn't come from a point of privilege. But I financially started from zero, if that makes sense. So I had my son when I was 21. I dropped out of college from junior year from Cal Poly Pomona and went into the outside selling world, did outside sales for a long time, started some side gigs along the way. One of them ended up being what turned into Kingslayer. And that was all self-funded through debt or my other job that I was working in outside sales. So, it was not I've got $1 million trust fund or something and I can use that to start a game store. It was, I worked my tail off, went into debt, almost lost the business when, the hobbies weren't exploding. And we survived long enough until there were some inflection points in the industry to where we could scale quicker. We were Section 8 housing, a dad at 21, and my income was like $40,000 a year. Not exactly just like rolling in it to get to this point. Like I had to work my ass off to get here. That's the thing I love telling my kids now is that you can take bigger risks and you can afford to do that. And there's so much opportunity right now in entrepreneurship. And so I just encourage my kids and viewers and folks that are thinking about starting game stores that there are not enough spaces like this across the world in the US where people have somewhere to go and play games, and they will support your store. They will buy stuff from your store if you give them a space to play. And we focus on events. We have open and free table space, assuming that there isn't an event going on that would already occupy that space. But yeah, the other, this must have happened overnight concern, or like that opinion, like that there's just some amount of success here because there's some amount of like wealth that you can just flip a switch and make it work. The reason why we have a community is for 11 years we've hosted events. That's like 4,000 straight days of hosting events in Fountain Valley, California, that has paved the road for this store to exist. 5 years ago we opened a store in Oceanside. 3 years ago we opened a store in Lake Forest. For context, that's about like 45 miles away and 25 miles away. So our stores are relatively close together, and that's every Friday for almost 11 years. That's 550 or more than 550 F&Ms we've hosted. So we're just constantly introducing people to the hobby and giving them a place to play games, and building that community brick by brick has led to the payoff of where we're at now. And we're just getting started. Like, this is a family business that I'm going to be building forever. And, I want to have a story that I can look back on and be proud of, and make careers for folks in the hobby. We have multiple folks at Kingslayer on salary. We offer benefits with medical, dental, vision. We have a 401k non-elective, which is basically free money we give away towards our staff for their 401k if they're full-time. And we have 48 folks on the ship right now. So there's 48 people that are in the company, a lot of part-time, a lot of full-time, and lots of opportunity because we're opening 2 more stores next year. So we're highly motivated, super excited and passionate and on fire for the hobby. And yeah, California's expensive, but like, we're going to do it anyways. Like, why wouldn't we do it? Like, why wouldn't, if there's an opportunity to expand and create more opportunities for my staff and my family, like, you do that, right? So that's how we can afford the store. You impose your will and you make it happen, and you can find some really good deals. And in your area, you could find some good deals too. So if you have more questions, I'd love to hear them. I'm trying to post a long form video every week. On Instagram, we post stuff daily. So if you're like, oh, this store looks like bullshit, empty, no one plays there, check out our Instagram story. We have events every night, and the stores are full, and people are excited about their hobby. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope I can contribute in a meaningful way to the discourse about opening game stores in the hobby. Appreciate you watching. See you next time.